In today's aviation news recap, there's developments around Qantas and their upcoming Project Sunrise, and they aren't entirely positive. Air Canada is announcing a new kind of service that doesn't involve a plane, and Delta has announced expansion towards Australia. Let's begin with Qantas, who have delayed their Project Sunrise launch by 6 further months, with a pushback now towards the middle of 2026. A decision to push back the launch comes following a previously expected late 2025 entry into service date for the A350s in question. However, ongoing manufacturing delays are cited as a critical reason why the airline has to push back what is described as the final frontier of travel. Additionally, there is focus on the certification and approval, while also inner workings of the additional fuel tanks that will make the range of the A350-1000 possible for Qantas. Unfortunately, however, the likelihood that this slips further beyond mid-2026 is certainly something that is present and has to be considered for Qantas, given the significant uncertainty around manufacturers' supply chains and really the ongoing delays that we've seen across a multi-year period. Additionally, it is worth considering that even if Qantas does take delivery of their first A350 designated for Project Sunrise, say in mid-2026, this doesn't actually mean that Project Sunrise will launch then. As with most new aircraft, the expectation is they'll first be involved in crew training flights across shorter domestic services. Once the crew familiarization period is successful, the initial aircraft will then be ready for deployment, and in this case on Project Sunrise flights. But this will take some time. Take a look at the Airbus A350-1000s. They were delivered many months ago and then spent the subsequent months operating training flights before they were eventually deployed on the Qantas Link network. The training period does mean that the likelihood for the A350-1000 launch with Project Sunrise won't be until the latter stages of 2026, and this is based on their current timeline. Again, any further delays, and you're looking at an early 2027 launch for the final frontier of travel. Qantas has selected in total 24 A350-1000s. The commitment to the series was actually increased at the midway point of 2023, when the airline ordered 12 more of the type. An initial order for 12 A350-1000s came in 2022, and this was after a lot of deliberation from the company. Additionally, the flag carrier noted that it had delayed the order announcement due to the global pandemic. I had sources who were at the airline informing me that the A350 deal was pretty much selected and done in 2019, but with the restrictions, there was a lot of uncertainty over what the next 5 to 10 years would look like at Qantas, and ordering such a flagship aircraft wouldn't necessarily make sense. The airline had been studying the possibility of the 777X as also an alternative to the A350, and these aircraft were genuinely pitted against each other for the contract. However, due to the delays with the 777X, alongside other fleet plans leading towards Airbus and their ability to really work the A350 around Qantas, meant it became the ideal option. These jets, once delivered, will allow the airline to fly much longer than the typical A350 with this plane, and that will mean that 20-plus hour flights will be possible. These aircraft will feature additional fuel tanks to help aid the range capabilities. While the A350s are set to feature economy class, the cabins will primarily rely more on a premium configuration, which will allow the airline to keep the overall weight down and obviously enhance the capabilities to the maximum. Over to Delta, who have announced plans to expand their Australian presence on a seasonal basis, with the upcoming service launch to Brisbane, Australia. The route originates from Los Angeles and will commence on December 4th of this year, operating thrice weekly through to a service end date of March 28, 2025. Delta says the service will be operated by their 4-class A350-900. As a result, customers will experience Delta One Suites, Delta Premium Select, Delta Comfort Plus, and lastly, Main Cabin. Thanks to the service announcement as well, Delta will now serve 2 cities in Australia, with Brisbane joining the already existing Sydney. Delta says that as a result, customers will have ample opportunity to either explore Australia or enjoy what the Delta network has to offer from Los Angeles. Delta's new service to Brisbane underpins a continued service expansion towards Australia that was boosted in the winter 2022 season when Delta added another flight towards Sydney that has now been increased to daily, which means they offer 14 weekly flights to Sydney. And soon there will be 3 flights per week for a handful of months towards Brisbane as the second destination. Unfortunately for Melbourne, well, the city once again misses out on a service offered by Delta. This also comes following American Airlines announcing they'd commenced to Brisbane only a matter of weeks ago. While Melbourne's geographical positioning is something to consider, aircraft availability at airlines such as Delta have often left Melbourne lacking regarding North American connections. Expansions are also being seen at airlines such as United, which have put increased pressure on flag carriers such as Qantas. And across the ditch, you've got New Zealand. Thanks to a lack of available aircraft, United actually overtook Qantas in offering the most services between Australia and North America. And over at Air New Zealand, well, they're saying that they'll be forced to adjust their future outlook and likely see poorer performance for the second half of the year as they battle much increased competition. These major US airlines have the fantastic capabilities present to expand at a rapid rate, and often will be a more compelling choice for travellers thanks to their expansive network and the brilliant onward connectivity to regional, short-haul or medium-haul services across the United States. On to the final story of today, and Air Canada has announced a new partnership with the Landline Company. This will ensure airports in Hamilton and the Waterloo region experience better connectivity. But no, I'm not talking in the form of aircraft service. The enhanced connectivity will be towards Toronto Pearson, one of Air Canada's primary gateways to locations worldwide, and as a result, customers can now, on a single itinerary, combine Air Canada flights with motor coach services for a more convenient journey. These are set to begin in May 2024 and will better connect Ontario, however permitting a successful launch phase and also the visible long-term benefits being there, this does have the potential to be expanded to more locations across Canada. Ultimately, the motor coaches are going to offer customers what Air Canada describes as a premium experience. There'll be a total of 36 spacious leather seats that'll be found inside the coach in a 2x1 configuration. Additionally, Air Canada says all coaches will be equipped with free Wi-Fi power, a tray table at every seat, and also enough overhead storage space to enable you to bring your carry-on baggage there. Meanwhile, for accessibility, announcements will be made in English and French, with lastly a power lift available for customers requiring aid with mobility. Due to the partnership, Air Canada says Landline will offer customers 6 non-stop round trips per day towards Toronto, each originating from airports in southern Ontario. Essentially, those that start their journey at Hamilton or generally Waterloo airports will check in for a flight as usual, collect a boarding pass, and then board a branded motor coach. Checked baggage will also be loaded onto the bus. And then Air Canada says there will be seamless connectivity once in Toronto Pearson, as you'll essentially skip the queue and go right through to security. Thank you very much for your support here on the channel. Do be sure to leave your thoughts down below in the comments. Make sure you're staying tuned, same place, same time tomorrow, for your latest aviation recap.